Maybe you're just starting out on your journey. Maybe you just received a promotion, or you just started a new role, or perhaps you are in a major career transition as a woman in leadership and you want to know how can you influence other people? In this video, I'm going to share with you some secrets that I have seen leaders make mistakes on for the past 20 years as a senior executive in hopes that you, friend, you do not make these mistakes. And you want to watch this video until the end because what I'm sharing with you is not what people talk about often on YouTube. Now, if you are new to me, welcome, welcome. If you are one of my absolutely amazing subscribers, welcome back, friend. This channel focuses heavily on advanced communication skills and strategies. My mission here is to help you be able to communicate more confidently and concisely under pressure as a leader. Now, if you happen to be a woman in leadership and you have received that promotion, as I mentioned, you're just starting a new role, or you're transitioning into something really big. Maybe you are transitioning into your own business. Maybe you're transitioning into a C suite executive role or a senior VP role, or maybe you're transitioning into public office. You absolutely want to be able to make sure that you are able to communicate at that level that you need to be at. Contact me for a executive strategy session and we can have a conversation about where you are and where you want to be as you are moving forward. Now, this topic of influence is very, very important. And earlier this morning, we had a live where we talked about this topic specifically. I go into a bit more detail on a couple of ways for you to speak and influence others. I'm going to bring a few of those points in today, but I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to take a look at the video that I heard earlier today on my live tab. Now, what are some mistakes? What are some mistakes that I have seen people make as it relates to influencing others? Now, before I go into those mistakes, let me make sure that you and I are both on the same plane or same train of thought as it relates to what exactly does influence mean. Let me know in the comments below when you think of the word influence, what comes up for you? When you think of influence, what comes up for you specifically? Let me know in the comments below and let's talk about it. I want to say hello and welcome to those of you watching the live today. Hello and welcome, welcome, friends. This is the only channel on YouTube that goes through high stakes, high pressure communication strategies in a live setting. There is no other channel. There are no other channels on YouTube that do this in a live setting. If you want to learn how to communicate more confidently and concisely under pressure as a leader, maybe you are in my direct audience as a woman in leadership, or maybe you are a man in leadership, this is the best channel on YouTube. Feel free to stick around and listen to some of the insights. Let me know what your questions are, and we'll see how I can help you learn how to influence others. I want to say hello to Adam99. Hello, Adam. How you doing today? Adam says, "Hey, I like your glasses." Well, thank you, Adam. I appreciate you. We have Zaid Khan. I hope I said your name correctly. Says you converse very well. Thumbs up. Well, thank you, Zaid. I appreciate you for saying that. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you all are joining from today. And when you think of the word influence, what comes to mind? Who has been a leader that has influenced you? Put it in the comments below. Let's talk about it. I'm going to share with you today the mistakes that people make when they are trying to influence other people. These are secrets. These are issues that people do, and I'm going to share them with you. I'm sharing with you over 20 years worth of experience in a few moments. So you definitely want to get a pen and a paper and watch this video until the end because you don't want to make these mistakes if you're trying to influence others as a leader. Influence, the definition itself, when you look at Merriam-Webster's dictionary, and I'm not going to recite it specifically because I don't have my personal phone in front of me, but overall, you can look at the definition. But for the most part, it says influence is your ability to impact or influence someone without force. Now, let's talk about it a bit more, and I'm going to share with you the secrets that I mentioned to you a moment ago. Before I do that, let me see what's in the chat. Adam99 says, I think it's some kind of combination with the subconscious mind of the people you want to influence. Adam, that's a really good point, and I appreciate you mentioning that. And the key to the definition of influence is that you're doing this without force. You're not forcing someone, you're not manipulating them. You are being who you are to influence other people. That's a very great insight, Adam. And it does have something to do with what's going on in here. So I'm going to share with you the secrets, the mistakes I have seen accomplished leaders make that have ran multi-million and billion-dollar organizations that I don't want you to make if you're trying to influence other people. Are you ready? The very first secret that I want you to make a mistake of not doing this is if you're trying to influence other people, and I'm going to say something and I don't want anybody to be offended, just please trust me. I've been doing this for 20 years and I know what's going to help you influence other people as a leader. Make sure you learn how to become a better public speaker. Now, before you click off the video, I know, public speaking is something that people are completely terrified about. They are. They're completely terrified about it. Now, if you're new to me in my channel, I talk about there's three main areas or aspects of communication that I see a lot of people struggle with. And they all encompass being able to speak. I'll go into those in just a moment. But why can public speaking help you be able to communicate and influence others? If you are able to present yourself in a way where you are engaging with your audience, they feel like you know what you're talking about. All of that helps to influence people in a subconscious way, as Adam mentioned a few moments ago. Being a better public speaker is the best way for you to do this. This is how you see a lot of leaders across the world are influencing the people or their citizens of their countries and etc by the way that they are communicating. And these individuals are public speakers. So I know a lot of people struggle with it and they say, I'm not a good public speaker. I'm afraid. I'm terrified. I don't know what's going to happen. Well, guess what? I want to let you know that if you happen to be a woman in leadership, you're more than welcome to reach out to me at exciteexcellence.org. I have a high stakes communication intensive that will completely change your life in terms of helping you to do that. And I also have a public speaking intensive as well that will help you to become a better public speaker because this is something you're going to have if you're trying to influence other people. Now, do you have to be a public speaker that is doing a TEDx speech or conversation? No, you don't necessarily have to be at that level, but you do need to incorporate public speaking into your overall professional development as a leader. All right, let's go to the chat. We have Dungo Bunkus. Hello, welcome, welcome. And Adam says, what's the difference between confluence and manipulation? And don't they blend in when you really want to confluence someone? That's a really great question. We had this conversation actually, Adam, because I think this is the first time I've seen you on the channel. We had this conversation about a week ago where we talked about, and I have a video on it, where we talked about manipulation and exactly what that is. As a point of reference, and Adam, you're welcome to let me know what your thoughts are. When you're thinking about influencing someone or doing that, really it is without force. You have to be yourself, but there has to be something about you that influences others, which is why I'm going to go into my other secrets in just a moment. But when you think about manipulation, manipulation is going to be a scenario where I know information. I know information, and I may have a bit of an unfair advantage of this information. I may know that Adam works well with this person, or Adam doesn't work well with this person, but I need to get something done. And I want to be the person to get this job done, to get this task done, and etc. And what I'm going to do, and this is just an example, Adam, what I'm going to do is I'm going to manipulate the situation to where I know Adam works better with this person, but I know he doesn't work better with this person. So I'm going to make sure that Adam works with the people I want him to work with, but it's solely to my benefit. It's only going to benefit me. Is it going to benefit Adam? No. Is it going to benefit the other people? Probably not. It's only to my benefit. And that, in my very humble opinion, I'm not the dictionary, but for my over 20 years of being in these very, very friendly and very contentious type of situations, I have seen that that is how people manipulate other people. There's typically a benefit solely for that person, and there is no benefit for the other people that happen to be involved. They are doing it in a way to where they don't really care what happens to everybody else. That's why it's manipulative, because you are looking out for yourself. You're not looking out for everybody else. Hopes that give you some insight there. And there is a fine line when you're thinking about influence and manipulation. But the key, if we look at the dictionary from the definition from Merriam-Webster, the key is we are doing it without force. When you're manipulating someone, you are making them do something. So, for instance, Adam, if I know you don't work well with this person and I just want to, I know you don't work well with this person, but I know if you work well, if you work with this person, I'm going to get this task or whatever I need to be completed. Then I would am forcing you, Adam, to say, Adam, I need you to work with this person that I know you don't like, but I need you to work with this person. Is that going to help you? No. You're going to be stressed out and say, I hate working with this person. Why do I have to work with this person? But it's not benefiting you. It's only benefiting me. That's in my very humble opinion. Adam says, isn't looking out for yourself sometimes needed, and is all manipulation bad? You need to, I think there's a way to think about it. Do you need to look out for yourself at all times? You always have to be aware of what's going on in the room. What are people doing? I talk a lot, Adam, on my channel about very advanced communication skills and strategies, how to read people, managing your emotions under pressure, thinking on your feet, your tone of voice, your body language, maintaining eye contact, having difficult conversations. I can go on and on and on and on and on, Adam. But you have to look out for yourself. And one of the ways that I would do that is by reading people. You don't necessarily have to manipulate people to the point where you're making it an unfair advantage for them, or you're just doing it basically to prevent yourself from being in trouble. You're just doing it just because you want to do what you want to do. But looking out for yourself is not necessarily manipulation. That's taking care of yourself, being advocating for yourself. There's a difference. If you find yourself in a situation where, let's say, for instance, Adam, you're in an employment opportunity and it's horrible, it's toxic, all those things that you hear talk that people talk about nowadays. If you're looking for another opportunity and you're trying to build your own business on the side, or you're looking for other opportunities that might be better for you, could people say, "Oh, you're just manipulating the system, you're just at work, but you're really doing other things?" People could say that. Yes, they could, but what time are you doing it? Are you doing it during your lunch period? Are you doing it when you're on your break? Because technically, if it's your time, then it's your time, right? Some people would say, "Oh, no, 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 you're not doing it. You're not supposed to do that at work at all." But remember, there's a point in time where you have your time that is yours and you can do whatever it is you want to do. So you absolutely, Adam, you have to look out for yourself at all times, because guess what? I'm telling you this from 20 years of experience. I've been a director, I've been a C-suite executive, I've been a senior executive, and I want to let you know I was a very, very good leader. I really cared about my employees and my teams, but majority of people that do not care about you. And I know people will say, "Don't say that," but I'm just telling you the honest truth. So you have to always look out for yourself. And is all manipulation bad? Manipulation itself has a negative connotation to it when you think about the word itself. Manipulation, there is different phrases for it. So, for instance, we have manipulation, we have influence, as you mentioned earlier. Manipulation is always going to have some type of benefit that is solely benefiting me, and I'm using people to do what I want them to do. That's that's really not ever really good in terms of how you are influencing people as leader. You want to try to do things in a way to where there's some benefit if you feel like it's appropriate, but then remember you have to advocate and you have to take care of yourself too. And sometimes you may be in a situation where you may need to influence others not to do anything negative and not to be mean or anything along those lines, but there is some influence that happens when you have to advocate for yourself so that people do what you want them to do and to help you in a way that you need to be helped that may benefit them as well. Okay, Adam says, "Thank you for the information. It's indeed my first time here, and you just earned a new subscriber." Well, thank you, friend. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. And we talk about a lot of these topics here on my channel. Take some time to look at my live tab. I have there's not a lot of YouTube channels. There's not a ton of YouTube channels, I would say, that have over 1,000 videos. I literally have over 1,000 videos here on this channel that are devoted to those high stakes, high pressure situations. And as I mentioned, if you're new to me and if there's any aspects of communication that you are struggling with, The fundamentals, I would say for anybody to watch, eye contact is a big one. Take a look at my videos. Look out for eye contact, and you'll when you listen to them, you'll hear my cowboy analogy. I have my own analogy for eye contact that I call the cowboy. I guarantee you, when you watch those type of videos, you will never look at eye contact again, and you'll be that person that can control a conversation by the way you are keeping eye contact with other people. A lot of videos on there. Just let me know if there's any aspects of communication you're struggling with, and I will definitely let you know what videos you might want to take a look at. Now, I mentioned to you specifically about public speaking. Public speaking is something that you're going to have to do if you're trying to influence other people. You may say you're scared and you're terrified. That's why you come and work with me. Okay, come and work with me, contact me, and I will help you to become a better public speaker. But ultimately, if you're trying to influence other people, this is a non-negotiable. You need to have this. And yes, that is a secret. Many people will tell you, "Oh, you don't need that." They're not telling you correctly. The second secret I want to share with you, mistake I do not want you to make. When you're trying to influence other people, you have to be relatable, meaning there has to be some form of empathy that you have for other people. Now, this morning we talked about empathy specifically as it relates to gas prices right now. So I mentioned to you all briefly about gas prices to give you an example of being empathetic and being relatable. People have to know you understand, or at least have some understanding of what challenges, what struggles they are going through. If people think that you live in a castle and you are looking down at everyone else, then how can you be very influential to them? They are going to see you as someone who is not on their level, that doesn't understand the day to day struggles that they may deal with, either personally, financially, or in their specific roles. If you're working with teams, then they may say, well, this person doesn't understand me. They don't understand me at all. And the example I gave earlier today was gas prices. We have gas prices April of 2026. Gas prices here in the United States are very they have increased significantly in a very short amount of time. And one of the things I mentioned earlier today, in terms of being relatable to people and talking to people, when people are talking about different aspects or things they may be struggling with, your team members and etc., gas prices is something everybody's struggling with. The increased cost of goods and spending, everybody's struggling with. If you have a conversation with someone about that, it makes you more relatable. You understand what people are going through. Or if you happen to be in a senior executive role and you know you are managing people who perhaps are on the front lines of your organization or your business, you may be having a conversation with them and they say, this is really hard. You can come in as a leader and say, you know what? I understand the challenges you're facing. I know how hard it is on the front lines, but let me share with you a couple things that helped me to get through this time period. Immediately, people are going to say, I like this person. They understand where I'm coming from. So, being relatable, if you're trying to influence others as a leader, is a non negotiable. I have seen countless leaders make mistakes with this one secret I'm sharing with you. They can be public speakers. Okay. You can have that public speaking check mark, right? You can still speak in public at any point in time. But the reason why leaders start to fail when they are losing their influence is because relatability. It is huge. It's a big factor. When you can't relate to other people, they feel as if you do not understand them. And when you do not understand them, they do not want to listen to anything you have to say. Therefore, your influence is very quickly going to go away. Okay, Adam says, want to ask you about something I have some trouble with. Absolutely. Let's see. Adam says, it's letting things slide, like some small stuff, and then it becomes weakness for big stuff. Like I really want to be more tough. Okay, great. So really great question. If you have any specific scenarios, let me know. But let's talk through it. Oh, one moment. Let me see. Adam says, I want to work on the moment reaction with small and big situations so I can better stand up for myself. Adam, this is the best. And I know you subscribe, and I'm saying this not because this is my channel, but no, seriously, this is the best channel for you to be at because we talk about situations like this all of the time. So I'll tell you a couple videos, but then let's talk a bit more about what you have specifically going on to give you some insight or some things maybe to think about. Any videos on my channel that talk about managing your emotions under pressure is going to be really important for you in this situation. Now, specifically, what you mentioned is that sometimes you have a hard time sometimes you have trouble letting things slide. And when you do, it becomes weakness for the big things. The key, one of the things you may want to think about, and I talk to my clients about this when I'm working with them in a one-on-one setting, is we have to come up with what are atoms, what are your triggers? What are the things that will trigger you to get really upset? What are the things that will make you not happy? And what are some of your non-negotiables? I say this because I've been in situations before where I have been the person to try to somewhat be appeasing many years ago, and I would let those things slide too, Adam. We all do this, okay? As leaders, we all do this. And if someone says they don't, they are not being truthful to you. But when you have that moment when you feel like you're gonna let things slide, a lot of times you have to go back and say, what are the non-negotiables for me? What are my triggers? What are the things that are gonna make me upset? What are the things that I'm just simply not gonna tolerate? And if it falls in those categories, then you know whenever that situation presents itself, whatever it may be, you know instantly that I need to say something about this situation specifically because that could be an issue. Now, sometimes if it is a small thing, a small thing. A lot of it depends on exactly what this small thing is. Is this small thing going to hurt someone? Is this small thing going to cost you a significant amount of money? Is this small thing going to ruin a reputation? Is this small thing going to be detrimental to your health and to your sanity? Those are some of the things that I think about when I think about the small things. There's a lot of situations where you may not want to necessarily say anything about the small things. You may just not. It may just not be worth it. What I like to do in those situations is keep that in the back of my mind and I use it as an observation. So I may notice that, okay, I noticed this person made this mistake. It may not necessarily be worth saying anything about it, but it may be something I just keep in the back of my mind. But if it's something that is going to cause a problem, a serious problem, and you foresee it as a leader, then this is something that you probably want to say something about. This is probably one of those small things or small stuff that you probably want to have a conversation about. Now, when it comes to working on your reaction in the moment, the key is you have to, there's, well, I know you're here on my channel, but the key to reacting in the moment is to get some guidance and some training on how to do it. And I talk about that a lot here on the channel. But knowing your triggers. So take some time, Adam, and think of what are the things that are going to just completely cause you to go from 0 to 1,000 instantly. Everybody has them. Everybody has them. Everybody has something that will make them upset. Now, if you know what that is, whatever that is that's making you upset, then take some time to think about what would be the templated response for you to say when that trigger comes up. I'll give you an example. If I'm in a business setting and someone asks me a question about, let's say, something that might be personal to me, then I know that is a trigger for me. Not in a bad way, but it triggers me to say, wait, I need to think about how I want to respond. And I already know if someone asks me a question that I think is not appropriate, like sometimes on YouTube, people will say things that are they're just silly and they're just not appropriate to me, then I automatically will acknowledge it, and then I will deflect and talk about something else if I feel like that's a trigger for me. So take some time to think of what are your triggers, Adam? What are the things that will make you upset? What are the things that are complete deal breakers for you? And what type of response would you like to start programming yourself to say when those situations come up? That will help you to start developing a templated response when those specific situations come up. I have many of them. I have many, many, many situations that have came up for me, and I have my templated response automatically. One of the things that will help you, and this is a secret I'm sharing with you as a public speaker and as an executive, etc. When you have those situations come up, Adam, if most of the time people are not subscribed to this channel and they're not subscribed to this channel, so they're not going to have those very advanced level communication skills. Therefore, when you have somebody ask you something that, let's say, it's a little too close to home for you, it's a little too close for home, it's maybe a borderline inappropriate, or it may be something that's really close to a trigger, If you say one thing about it, just one, and divert it and talk about something else because you don't want to necessarily be rude to the person, most of the time they completely forget that they even asked you that. I had this situation happen a couple months ago. Someone asked me a question. I acknowledged it. I said, "Yes, I have XYZ, whatever. How are things going with you?" And they just completely forget about it. They just completely forget. But if you're a trained speaker and you're trained to be in those very under pressure like conversations by subscribing to the channel, of course, then you'll know there's ways for you to be able to still be polite, still acknowledge and address a question, but immediately, okay, this conversation is going to a different direction. This is how you are able to manage and control conversations. You're not being manipulative at all. You are controlling the conversation. And this is something that I believe will be of value to you because you mentioned that you want to stand up for yourself. And the key to that is knowing those triggers I mentioned to you and knowing specifically what are those non negotiables for you. Now, when it comes to being able to stand up for yourself, there's the mental part of it. Okay, there's the mental part where Adam's got to say, okay, no, Adam can do this, I'm ready to go. This is a non-negotiable. So once you know that, it gives you confidence to say, I already know that if someone says this about me, that's a non-negotiable. Conversation's over, I'm shutting it down. However, there's the other part of it. Once you have it in your head, you have to be able to say it. And a lot of people, Adam, they struggle with this part. They will go through everything, they'll talk, they'll say, yes, okay, I know this is a trigger for me. I know this is an issue. I'm not going to tolerate it. But when that situation comes up, it's like mum's the word. They don't say anything at all because they just haven't thought of, how am I going to say it? What am I going to say? I don't know what to say. And then they feel as if they've missed an opportunity. They don't know what to do. And that is why you work with me directly. So we can have a conversation about that. Okay, Adam says, great tips. I haven't really studied this topic and I think it's a lot of work. Yes, and it is a lot of work, but if you are trying to be empowered to stand up for yourself, the fact that you even acknowledge that this is something you need to work on puts you way ahead of everybody else, Adam. Because most people they go through life and they know that they feel as if, "Oh, I could do better. I don't know why. I don't know." But the fact that you do know, saying this from the point of being an executive coach, it shows that you have a deep self-awareness about yourself, and that is the only way, Adam, you're gonna be able to move forward in your career. If you didn't know, then you would be completely lost and you wouldn't know anything about it. But the fact that you do, it says a lot about you, and you definitely are at the right place for sure. Adam says, I know some people who don't let anything slide, and I see a lot of courage and confidence in their character. I really want to work on such skill. Fantastic. Well, what I will do just for you, let me take a screenshot of what you said here because what I do for my audience members, Adam, is whenever there's topics that come up and I believe that there's a lot more depth that we could go into and do a live on it, or I may do a pre-recorded video on it, I will do a video and give you a shout out on it specifically for that topic because a lot of people they when you are trying to figure out what you should do, how you should do it, you just need someone to give you some insight. And yes, there are people that don't let these things slide. But I will tell you that it may appear as if they don't let anything slide. They let some things slide if they need to, but they are a lot more strategic in terms of the way that things should be when they do not need to let things slide. As I mentioned, if it's going to impact your sanity, if it's going to cause you to lose money, if it's going to be unethical, if it's going to be at detriment of someone else, someone's going to get hurt, then those are situations where you can't let it slide. You have to say something about it. Now, you're going to have your own situation where you know you can't let it slide. And what you may want to do, Adam, is once you figure out what's going on in the situation, you have to develop your own decision algorithm, I would say. You have to determine very quickly, and this is how you start to think on your feet, Adam, because I believe that's something that might help you here. You have to determine very quickly what's the intent of what's being said. So to give you just a very very brief overview to help you because I really want to help you. The One of the things you have to determine when you're trying to figure out, okay, People don't let things slide. Well, why don't they let things slide? One, they have to be very observant of what's going on. For example, if someone's speaking to you, Adam, and there's something that's said and you in your mind you're thinking, I don't think that's right. You have to determine, is this conversation or what's being stated, is this from a friendly person, or is this person intentionally doing something rude and disrespectful, or maybe they're in the middle and you're just not sure. You have to determine what's going on first. That's immediate. You have to determine, is this friendly person or is this person not being friendly? And you have to observing someone and helping you to understand what's going on will allow you to start reading the room. And Adam, in order for you to be able to not let anything slide, you have to observe the room and you have to observe the person to see what their intentions are. When you determine that their intentions are, maybe they're just making a mistake or they're just being not acting appropriate, but they're not intending anything malicious to you, then you know that, okay, I can address it in this way. However, if you know that someone's being intentionally malicious or they're doing something inappropriate, then you have to speak to them in a very, very direct way, mastering your eye contact, your facial expressions, and silence that I talk about here on my channel. But a lot of it depends on what is the intent of the statement that's being made. That's the reason why, Adam, that the people you have spoken to or you see that don't let anything slide, they have a very rapid fire way that they are able to figure out really quick, is this somebody friendly? Is this someone that's being not friendly? And is this something I'm going to tolerate or is this something I'm not? And you have to know your triggers and all of that ahead of time. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but what happens, Adam, is when you start to develop these skills that I talk about on my channel, when you're going through those situations, it's going to get to the point where it's going to be like a reflex. And of course, I can only do but so much here live on YouTube, but in a worldwide audience with a group, which is why I work with my clients in a one-on-one setting for this. But I teach my clients that when you're under pressure like this, we need to make it to where your response is like a reflex. It's not something that you've rehearsed in your head, where you just say, oh, I didn't have a script for that under pressure conversation where I need to negotiate my salary. Oh man, I missed this opportunity. I don't want you to be like that. I want you to be prepared for any situation that you have that's an under pressure situation that I would consider high stakes, where you already have a solid foundation to help you be able to answer those questions or deal with those situations so that you're standing up for yourself and you're not letting anything slide. Okay, so Adam said, you said something really interesting about having a trigger inside your mind, but not knowing how to speak it out. Absolutely. This is a major issue people have. What kind of skills should be developed in order to speak it out? Well, a lot of it comes down to practice and knowing exactly what to say and how to say it. Most of the time when I work with my clients in a one-on-one setting in terms of them struggling with speaking it out loud, they typically have it in their head. They know exactly what they want to say and how they want to say it, but when they speak it out loud, they struggle with it. And let me tell you why. Many times people will struggle with speaking it, whatever it is, out loud because there's some aspects of their communication style that is simply not ready to be under pressure. Let me give you an example. I had a client of mine who was in a situation where she needed to have a difficult conversation with her superior, her boss. I think it was her supervisor. And she knew exactly what she wanted to say and how she wanted to say it. She came to me because this situation happened. She knew what she wanted to say. She rehearsed it, she practiced it, and all of those things. But when it came time to have that conversation with her supervisor, she just froze. She completely froze and she didn't know what to say. And the conversation, it didn't go in a negative direction, but what she was looking to achieve out of out of the conversation, it simply didn't happen. She reached out to me and asked me and said, I'm really struggling with this. Why am I struggling with this? And the reason why people don't speak it out loud, Adam, is because they just haven't been trained to speak under pressure. That is as simple as I can say it. When you are trained to speak under pressure, which is what I focus here on my channel, when you're trained to speak under pressure, there's certain aspects of how you communicate that will automatically help you to do that. And I'll give them to you, and I mentioned them earlier. Adam, there's usually three, and there's a lot of ways that people struggle with communication, but universally, worldwide, people struggle with three aspects of communication. they struggle with eye contact, they struggle with silence, and they struggle with facial expressions. If you can try to master one, two, or all three of these, it helps you to start getting yourself prepared for those under pressure situations. Therefore, when you're in a conversation with someone and they're staring at you, instead of you in your mind freezing because you're just thinking, wow, this person's staring at me, I don't know what to do, and just blank and go blank. And that's the reason why you don't speak it out loud. You are able to maintain eye contact with them to show them that, okay, I have eye contact, I'm watching you, and I'm able to control this conversation. That is the reason why people don't speak it out loud. They are just simply not trained to speak under pressure, and they're not trained to communicate under pressure. It's not that they don't have it together. They have it all together. They've written it out. They have it all in their mind, but the actual speaking part of it comes down to communication. If you can master those three aspects of communication, it will automatically help you to become more confident when you're speaking to other people. And when you feel more confident and you are ready to be under pressure at any point in time, then you will be able to speak it out loud and not be afraid to do so. So I hope that gives you something to think about. Okay, Adam says, and how can a person practice such stuff? How can he put himself out there in such situations where it can be like training to develop reflex? Well, that's a really great question. So it depends on your role specifically right now in terms of what you are doing in your career right now. If you want to give me some insight, let me know. But a lot of it depends on your role and where you are. There's there's two ways you can learn how to respond and make this like a reflex. One is you have to do it. You have to do it and practice it. So you try not to be afraid to be in those hard conversations. If you master those three aspects of communication, eye contact, facial expressions, and silence, I'm telling you, Adam, it will set you apart from majority of the people on planet Earth because most people don't like to make eye contact. Why? Because it feels awkward. Most people do not like silence in a conversation. Why? Because it feels awkward. Most people struggle with controlling their facial expressions. Why? Because they simply don't know how to do so and it feels awkward. If you can master what people are afraid of and what they feel awkward about, you automatically are going to go from here to here really fast because people really struggle with that. So you have to put yourself in those situations. Don't be afraid. Start developing these skills. Spend some time on my live tab and learn as much as you can, of course. And of course, if you come live, I'll I'll answer any questions you have. But you have to put yourself in those situations. So if you're in a leadership role, making sure you're the person that can communicate. When you have those situations come up, when let's say the small stuff, like as you mentioned before, and you may let it slide, maybe take one instance, Adam, where you hear something and you think, I don't think this is right. Let that be that one time that you say, I'm not going to let this slide. Isn't this supposed to be done by this person? Isn't this supposed to have already been checked? Why is this coming to me as the end user when it should have been addressed by the front user? All of that can help you. You just have to put yourself out there and just try. Sometimes initially, when it comes to that small stuff and you think, I shouldn't let this slide, the first time you say it, you may hesitate. You may say, I think I'm going to let it slide. But then I want you to remember our conversation live today and say, no, Dr. Jacinta said, if it's something that is critical and you need to say something about it, then say something about it, but say it in a very polite and a professional way. If you come across saying it in a very aggressive and a mean way, then everybody's going to say Adam's being mean. You want to say it in a way that is affirmative. You know exactly what's supposed to happen. And this is a situation that can cause us a problem with this. And this is a scenario where I don't want to let it slide. And then just say it. The first time you do it, you're going to feel a little bit nervous. I know that. I felt that. It's one of those situations where you need to feel the fear and you need to do it anyways. People talk about that as entrepreneurs all the time. And I can tell you as one, it's the truth. Sometimes you will grow the most when you're in those uncomfortable conversations, when you are having to do something that's a bit different out of your norm. When I was At the Aspire event earlier this year here in Fort Lauderdale, Kevin O'Leary mentioned something that I thought was very, very insightful when he was there. He mentioned that every day try to do something out of your comfort zone, whatever that is. And if it's doing something different or going a different way or trying something new, do something out of your comfort zone because that is where truth growth comes. Therefore, the next time something happens, Adam, and you think just you have the first intuition that says, this is something that may not need a slide, then think about how you want to address it, say something about it, and be let that be the first time you start practicing. Now, the second way that you're able to practice these situations is by working with me directly. I have a high stakes communication intensive where I help my clients be able to go under those very high pressured conversations. I call them the pressure test. I can help mimic those situations because I've been in so many of them to help you understand, okay, if you're asked a question about this and you feel pressure about it, I can help you instantly be able to say, you lost it there. You completely went blank there. Let's figure out why and let's make sure we practice again. So the next time someone challenges you, then you automatically know that, okay, I already practiced this with Dr. Jacinta. I know I shut down, so I have to make sure that I don't shut down. And let's talk through that. So those are two ways. One is experience, one is have someone that has been very highly skilled or has been in those situations that can help you. There's a lot of people on YouTube, I will tell you, that have been in the communication world, but a lot of their content here is good content, but it's very highly edited, highly polished. And you can tell some of these individuals have not been in challenging situations. That's just from me personally, from my perspective. Those of us who have been through the fire and have been in those very contentious situations, you can tell really quickly, and we can relate to you to say, yes, I understand, Adam, when you have that situation where you want to let the small stuff slide, but you need to say something. You need to stand up for yourself. I understand. And that's why this channel is unique in that way, because I do focus on those very contentious situations here live on this channel, which most other people do not do because they're afraid of being live in front of everybody else, especially in the wild, wild west of YouTube. YouTube is literally the wild, wild west, in my opinion, depending on where you're from. I'm from the United States. It really is. You're communicating with the whole world. You have people that say very friendly things. You have people say offensive things. You have to be ready to just respond at any point in time in a way that is professional, that shows your audience you know how to handle these situations so that if it comes up for them and they have a challenging situation or someone's being rude and aggressive to them, then okay, remember that she responded in that way. Okay, Adam says, wow, I'm really amazed of the valuable information you providing me. Absolutely, Adam. That's what I'm here for. Definitely we'll start working on that. Absolutely. You're so welcome, Adam. I'm glad you're here and welcome to the amazing group of leaders. I appreciate you being here today. And I am here to help you any way that I can. I've been in really friendly situations, in very contentious situations as a senior executive. I have been a public speaker for 20 years. I have been on the news. I've interacted with congressional leaders here in the United States at the highest level of our federal government. I've been in those situations where I've had to communicate at a higher level than my peers, which is the reason why I'm just imparting this information to everyone that's watching and watching the replay to help you any way that I can. My mission, this is my 6-year business, and this year my mission is to make the largest high stakes, high pressure communication content library for leaders on planet Earth. I have over 1,000 videos here on this channel now, and I'm just warming up. I'm just getting started. A lot of my videos are on the live tab. I'm on YouTube's live streamer research panel because I've done so many live videos, and that is my mission. I'm going to make the largest content library here on planet Earth as it relates to speaking under pressure in those situations. So I'm glad you're here and welcome. We're going to be doing some fun things here. Okay, Adam says eye contact, silence, and facial expressions. Yes, if you can, there's a lot of other aspects of communication that we all have to work on. But if you can work on those three, it will really set you apart for sure. Okay, Adam says, I'm from Jordan and I'm studying it in Russia. Awesome. Russia people are kind of tough to deal with. English is my third language after Arabic and Russian. Okay, great. I understand that. I have a lot of my colleagues that are from Russia, so I understand. It's just a different. It's not. It's just a different way they communicate. Does that make sense? It's just a different way, and everybody's different in how they speak. And so if you know, for instance, specifically right now you're studying in Russia, then you know that that's just how they communicate, because they do communicate differently. We all do, from different countries. You just have to mimic that. Okay, you have to mimic the way that you're seeing it right now. But when, let's say, for instance, if you are traveling back to Jordan, then you know you may want to communicate a little differently. So being able to adapt it in a way to where you can say, okay, I know I'm in Russia, I gotta speak like this. I know I'm in Jordan, I have to communicate this way, will help you be adaptable to wherever it is specifically that you are living in. For example, when I'm talking to my colleagues, or my dear friends, or if I'm talking to a client, if I'm talking to a congressional leader, I change my how I communicate. It may be a bit more direct, it may be not too laid back, because I do tend to communicate more of a formal way, but it just depends. I'm still going to be myself and be my authentic self, but you may just have to mirror that other person. That is another way to help you be relatable, is that if you're mirroring how they are communicating. We learned this as executive coaches. Also, mirroring is really, really very important as well. Okay, Teddy Mitchell. Hello, Teddy. Welcome. How you doing today? Teddy says, "Young lady, good evening. Praying all is well." I am doing well, Teddy. Good to see you. Welcome back. Okay, Adam says, "Yeah, it's like developed three different personalities." I know it feels that way, but it's a matter of how you communicate. Still be Adam, but there just may be times you have to be a bit more direct in your communication, especially if you perhaps are communicating from someone from Russia. It's the way you communicate it. It's the tone of voice you use that will help you to navigate those situations, so you don't have to feel as if you have three personalities. I still have one personality. I tend to communicate in a more formal way 99% of the time, and that's just how I communicate. I could go to other places and communicate the same way. So it's a matter of finding your specific communication style and being able to modify it as needed. Now, I mentioned to you a couple ways to influence people. The first way was to become a better public speaker. This is a secret. This is a mistake people make. The second is to be relatable. So we talked a bit about that. The third is to make sure that you are at a place where you are being very consistent in terms of how you are communicating with people. How many of you have ever interacted with leaders, depending on where you're from, doesn't matter, but how many of you have interacted with leaders that are really inconsistent in terms of what they say? I would put both my hands up, especially right now. This happens often, and it is very difficult for individuals and leaders to influence others if you're communicating in a different way all the time. You have to be consistent in terms of how you behave, how you conduct yourself. If you're having a rough day, we understand that, but you may be having a rough day. We all have rough days. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to communicate in a really negative way to put that pressure off on everybody else. So consistency is really important if you're trying to influence people. People have to know who they're dealing with, and they want to have an idea as to, this is the person I'm going to be working with when we work together. I want to make sure that I'm not in a situation where I'm dealing with a situation where I have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and I don't know who I'm working with that day. Nobody wants to work with people like that. So keep that in mind also. Being consistent is incredibly important to influence other people. Relatability is critically important. I will share with you, over 20 years, I've seen the best leaders fail with relatability. They completely become on their soapbox, as we say here, and they completely forget about where they've been and what challenges they've had, and they are not able to relate to other people. There's a lot more that goes into influencing others, and I know we've been live for a little while today, and I appreciate Teddy for coming back. Adam, appreciate you giving some really great insight here. The key about the lives is that a lot of my replay audience watch them. So anything that you have coming up, or you mentioned specifically as topics, then other people are going to be learning from you also in terms of what you're doing and what are some challenges you're having, and determine how they may want to modify how they're managing situations based on our discussion. So I appreciate you giving us just some really great insights today. Okay, Adam says, nice point about the tone of voice. How important is the coordination between eye contact, facial expressions, and tone of voice? I think you have it naturally. Have you trained such coordination? That's a really good question. So to answer the first part, it is very important. It is extremely important for you to be able to coordinate those three aspects together, so to speak. It just depends on the context. Now, have I been trained for it? Yes, I have. I have done a lot of training, not only specifically in my C-suite executive roles. I learned a lot more about that very under pressure, high stakes, high pressure conversations when I have been in senior executive roles. Now, I will share with you that I have been in Toastmasters for a very, very long time. Toastmasters, if you are not aware, is a worldwide international public speaking and leadership organization. Now, with Toastmasters International, they have 358,000 members worldwide that are in their groups across the planet. And they have a program or an award that is called the Distinguished Toastmaster Award. These individuals have done 50 plus speeches, they've done leadership roles, they've been very involved in Toastmaster, and they have done a lot. Now, typically, only 1% of Toastmasters' 358,000 members worldwide are able to accomplish the Distinguished Toastmaster Award. I received my Distinguished Toastmaster Award in 2019. That comes with that training, Adam, that you mentioned specifically. Are you trained for this? I'm highly trained for this. I take public speaking seriously. I take communication seriously, not only because I've been on the news and I've done public speaking over the years, but because I've been in those executive roles where I've been in those really hard conversations and I understand how your ability to communicate will either help you move forward in your career or it will forever slow you down and allow you not to move forward. I know what it's like when people freeze when they're having a conversation and they completely go blank and they don't know what to say or they don't know how to manage themselves when someone challenges them. A lot of it does come from just real life experience, which is why I'm sharing it with you here. So to answer your question, yes, I have been trained. I've been trained in really friendly situations and really hard situations. I talk a bit about those on my channel here, and I hope that gives you some insight to answer that question. A lot of it, when you're trying to coordinate the two, if I coordinate the three, I would say you have to put it together. The key, Adam, is you have to know, is this person a friendly or is this person not a friendly? That's the number one thing you have to figure out. And if it's somebody you don't know, you still have to make that decision. That decision determines how you respond. If someone responds to you and says something that is a bit inappropriate, but you know they probably don't mean any intention about it, then you may respond to them in a more direct way, but maybe not too direct. You may be a bit more politer to that person. However, if you know someone's saying something to you and you know that this comment that was made is not appropriate and it is trying to insult you or say something, be very aggressive to you or etc., then you have to respond in a direct way. That's the key. That's the very first part of your decision making algorithm. Is this a friendly or is this not a friendly? It's the same thing as if you're in any type of a conflict. Are you a friendly or you're not a friendly? It's like one of the two. You have to make the determination because that determines how you respond. Now, once you determine that, then you determine how are your facial expressions going to work. If it's someone that's a friendly, then you're probably going to be a bit more relaxed in terms of how you communicate with them. However, if it's someone that is not a friendly, then your facial expressions have to show a bit more seriousness in that conversation. And I talk about this a lot on my channel, but some of the main ways that it will help you, the key to helping you as it relates to your facial expressions, your eyebrows usually will tell a lot and give a lot away. If you can start controlling your eyebrows or at least being mindful of them, then when someone says something to you, instead of you maybe reacting in a way that appears to be upset or frustrated, perhaps you're going to do a scowl, or you may, move your eyebrows a bit, then know that, okay, I need to make sure I have a straight face. So having direct eye contact is something that will help you be able to start making that coordination. Because, as I mentioned, Adam, the first thing you have to figure out, is this a friendly or is it not a friendly? Or is it in between? Friendly or not friendly? Typically, if it's in between, you want to give an in between response where it's direct, where you're telling the person, okay, I don't know what you were intending by this, but let me clarify. So that's the first thing, because once you know where you're going, is this a friendly conversation or unfriendly conversation, then you can train your mind and say, okay, I know this is friendly. I'm going to relax. Or I know this is unfriendly. Okay, let me be laser focused on this conversation. Eye contact is there. Facial expressions is very neutral. So this person knows that I don't know what you're trying to say, but I'm letting you know that I'm listening to you, and I'm very observant in terms of what you're doing, and I'm going to respond accordingly. I hope that gives you some insight in terms of that coordination. It comes down to, is this a friendly or is this not a friendly? How are you going to shift gears? Many of you know I like cars. So how are you going to shift gears? You're going to have to shift gears on this one. Either we're going to go in one direction or we're going to go in another direction. So I hope that gives you something to think about. Okay, Adam says, amazing achievements. I'm really proud I found your channel. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're here also. And I go live here very consistently on YouTube. I'm live on YouTube at least 7 times. It's 7 times a week, at least. I'm typically live in the morning. In the evening here, I'm based out of the United States on the East Coast. So I typically go live Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays in the morning, in the evening. And then on Wednesdays, I'm live in the evening. Now, my schedule may change here a little bit, but the amount of times I'm going to be live is still the same. It's still going to be in the morning, in the evening. So depending on what time zone you're in right now determines when you may catch me live. I will say that we're doing something special on the channel. We're getting very close to 1,000 subscribers, which is a tremendous milestone. Only 8% of YouTube channels get to 1,000 subscribers. So I'm so excited about that. But later this year, what I plan on doing is having a event for my audience specifically, where it will most likely be a Zoom event or something along those lines, where we have the chance to connect with each other, because oftentimes you all join the live or you make comments and etc. And I see you, I communicate with you here, but I don't have the chance to really interact with you or say hello or see you personally via Zoom. And so that's something that I'm planning on doing later this year. And when I do it, it's going to be an event that will span over multiple days, meaning that I know people are in different time zones. So, for instance, Adam is in Russia right now. I know people are in different time zones, and I want to make sure that I capture everybody. I have people from New Zealand, Australia, the UK, Greece, of course, from Akitia, and other people from other parts of the world, Brazil, and etc. And I want to make sure I'm capturing everybody. So it's something that will be a very large event. I'm used to hosting and planning large scale events, and it's something that I will mention, and it will be at least a good month or so. I would say launch, to let everybody know, by the way, this is when our event is going to happen, and you're welcome to join depending on the time, and there'll be the same type of event. I just have to organize exactly how all that's going to come together. So I shared with you a couple ways to influence you, some secrets to influence other people. Public speaking, being consistent, being relatable are very, 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 very important. Competence is important too. You can influence people, but ultimately we have to know that you know what you're talking about. If we feel like you do not know what you're talking about, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard for you to be able to influence other people. People want to be influenced by people that are leaders that know what they're talking about. And if it's something that you're struggling with, competence, then you want to work on it. Meaning specifically, if there is a topic or a situation that you personally know that you need to learn a bit more about, take that time to learn it. Therefore, when you are talking to other people, then it appears as if you know exactly what's going on. I share this with you all when I'm looking at policies or I'm looking at legislation and etc. You have to know a little bit about a lot. And the same goes for your discipline. If you are in a specific industry, then you absolutely want to make sure that you know as much as you can on your industry. Look at news articles, look at journals, see what's trending in your industry. And when you talk to other people and you're trying to influence them, maybe there's a big vision that you're working on or a big project you're trying to get some buy into, then people will already say, this person knows exactly what they're talking about. They're able to relate to us. They know some of the challenges that we're going to face. They were able to communicate it in a very concise way. That's where the public speaking comes from, and we know this person is pretty consistent in terms of how they interact with us. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and work with this person. All of that comes together to help you to build influence as a leader. Okay, Adam says, I noticed that you didn't stutter at all. That shows a high level of your communication skills. Respect. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. This is what I do. I could talk about communicating under pressure in challenging situations all day long. That's why I have over 1,000 videos here on my YouTube channel, because this is a passion of mine. I know many of us may never ever be able to meet each other directly because we're on different parts of the world. Anything I can do to help you be able to speak up and to not let something slide, right, Adam? Not let something slide and start speaking up for yourself will be the world to me. I see a lot of my audience members that come here, they've received promotions just by the conversations that we've had. They've been able to help support their teams. There's been a lot of positive impact that people have had on their lives just by being here. And that's what's important to me. I know that if I can, let's say for Adam, for instance, I can help you. I can help you be able to start speaking up for yourself and not letting things slide and being very articulate when you say those words, then I know whatever happens to you, you may communicate that with a friend, or you may communicate that with a loved one, or if you end up having a family, you may pass it on to their family. I'm trying to impact generations. Everybody, as leaders in general, they struggle with communicating under pressure. I know they do. And that's the reason why I'm so passionate about this topic, because I don't want you all to struggle communicating under pressure. This is something that I want you all to master, because if most people master with communicating under pressure, they freeze, they don't know what to say, then I want the people that are subscribed to my channel to be those people that are exceptional communicators, where they don't freeze, they know exactly what to say, they know how to use their eye contact, they know how to use silence, all of those things that will help you stand out from everybody else as a leader. Okay, we have Teddy Mitchell. Teddy says, season for seafood, blue claws, blue crabs. Enjoy seafood on the Jersey Shore. Okay, well, thank you, Teddy. All right, Robert Q Y4I. Hello, Robert. How you doing today? Good to see you, friend. Robert says, it's a good call, simple, straightforward advice helps. Well, thank you. I appreciate you being here. And I don't think I've seen you before. So, welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. If you watch any of my videos on my live tab, my recorded videos are a bit older. I am about to refresh that here very soon and do a lot more reaction type videos. I believe you all will like them. So, I'm working on that. But if you look at my live tab or look at any of my videos or my shorts, if there's something that you see that comes up for you and you say, I really would like to know more about this, or can you talk a bit more about this topic? Put it in the comments. I will respond to your comment. And depending on the depth that I need to put in the comment, I may do a video for you to give you some insights in terms of how you can manage the situations. Please come to me for the hard things. Okay. I deal with the hard situations, the hard conversations that are professionally related. That is my expertise. So if you have a difficult conversation, a hard situation you're dealing with, as a leader, whether you are in my direct target audience as a woman in leadership or you are a man in leadership or you're thinking about leadership, let me know in the comments. I'm here to support you any way that I can. I know how it is out there when you don't know what to do when you're in a really tough situation. Come to me with the hard things. That's my expertise. I deal with more of the complex situations. I appreciate you all so much for being here. Teddy, thank you so much for coming back. Adam, I really appreciate your insight and glad that you're a subscriber and welcome, friend. And really looking forward to seeing some of your other insights. You had some really great questions that you asked today that will truly benefit the audience as a whole. And Robert, welcome. Good to see you. I hope you gained some insight here as well. I will see you all live tomorrow morning. Actually, tomorrow's Wednesday, so tomorrow evening, actually. So around about this time. And I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Bye for now.